I have shared some of the things that I like to do to uplift myself. Do you have any that you want to share? I bet you Dr. Ignacio is going to say dancing.
Yeah, just to make myself feel better, I'll go in my garage, blast the music, and go to town. Okay, binge dancing. Is that a thing?
Binge dancing.
And by myself, by the way.
Exactly. We can think about what uplifts us.
Sometimes it's okay that you can't be uplifted to the point of joy and laughter and frivolity. Then perhaps seek how you can feel and find peace.
And there's nothing like standing under a rainfall or putting your feet in the ocean, dancing with your friends, and the music is going and you're feeling it.
There's so much that we have that is simulated now, but it's the real things, it's the real deals often that really fill our cup and really uplift us.
Listeners, I would be curious to know any of the ways in which you uplift yourselves. Welcome to Simply Enough. This is Zachary and Elizabeth, and thanks for tuning in.
If you're liking our podcast, we'd love it if you'd share with your friends and family.
And then rate and review to raise our visibility and spread the message of enoughness.
We love you, and remember, you are simply enough.
Just as you are.
Period.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Simply Enough. I'm Mr. Zachary Linnert.
And I'm Dr. Elizabeth Ignacio.
Listeners, as Dr. Ignacio and I were having our little pre-game conversation, I said, I need something just a little uplifting today, something a little bit up. I recognize that I've just been having a hard time like getting out of bed and finding motivation to go out into the day, face the things that we've got to do, and also to stay motivated towards the things that I enjoy, like going to the gym, etc. And in addition to just loving time with my dear friend, Dr. Ignacio, I also just love her energy and her lightness and her spirit and all of that. And so I knew that for me, one of the things that when I'm in a place where I recognize that my body wants that or needs that, and this isn't a toxic positivity kind of moment, it's just a recognition that that's what I need. Time with my friend, Dr. Ignacio, was certainly part of that. And God love her, just to put it out there. She said, what about this? Like, what about this as a topic, that things that we do that help us in these moments when we want to feel better, and what we do for ourselves in those moments might be little trips or tips, strategies, or things for you listeners that could help, and also maybe get you to think about ways in which you uplift yourself. So, without rehashing it too much, we were talking about water, and I am a Cancer. My birthday, July 3rd. I'm very much a water boy, even though I don't like sunscreen. So like I hate putting on sunscreen. So like the beach is kind of a mixed bag for me because I love the sand and I love the water, but I hate the feeling of all of that, stuff on my body. So I know. I'm such a...
And you lived in Hawaii.
I know. Grew up in Southern California. Like,
that's right. You're a California boy.
Such a quirky dude. But anyway, being with water and being in nature with water is certainly something that I hope we bring back and we talk about today. But Dr. Ignacio was asking about showers and taking a shower. And I love to take, some time with my shower and to just be present and let the water kind of flow over me. And also I like to sometimes change the temperature of the water as well, to just be in like warmer, kind of steamier environment, or a little bit colder, and just feel your body kind of like react. And nothing where it's like scheduled. It's just that moment to just stand there and then maybe change, the temperature just a little bit. And I was about to share, and I share with you that that feeling, you get when you're at home or somewhere where you can access a shower. But for me, if I'm in that place where I just need to have that sense, that watery sensory moment, I will go and run my hands under the sink. And if I'm in a place where I can somehow try to get my feet somehow connected, like if I can just wipe my feet down with kind of a warm towel or something like that. Generally that one's not as available to me, but certainly just running my hands underwater gives me that same kind of feeling, and it can, certainly make me feel better. I do it relatively often because I like to wash my hands. I like to have clean hands. But I also just love that feeling, and that uplifts me. So I was just going to share that with you, that is certainly something that helps me when I want to connect with water and I need that moment to uplift myself. That's something I do.
And I think it helps you because as as you're describing, you are very mindful and present of the sensations that you're feeling at that moment, the flow, the temperature of the water on your hands or the water on your body, during a shower. That's just a moment of reset where you are very mindful and aware and present. I myself too, I am a shower person. I'm really not a bath person. Like, I really don't get, and more power to everybody if baths are your thing and bubble baths. And I get how that could be very relaxing and very sacred time for people. For me, it's not. Like, I literally, I feel better with a shower. I feel better with the water running. Whether I'm feeling blah, whether it's about my job or relationships or, my own body or whatever, whenever I'm feeling blah, a shower always makes me feel better, because I just kind of feel like the sensation of water washing away all of the icky, not only feelings, but icky thoughts that I might be having. And I just feel refreshed after, to the point where sometimes, and water police, please don't judge me. It's not like I do this all the time, but sometimes I just stand in the shower for minutes at a time, not even grabbing the shampoo or soap or anything, but just letting the sensation of water wash away whatever it is that I feel like I need to wash away, so that it's kind of a reset, so that as I'm toweling off, it's kind of like, okay, game time, different, different moment, different time of the day, because I'm starting literally fresh and clean. And there's just something about that sensation of a shower that almost always makes me feel better, cleaner, fresher, newer. And so, yeah, I'm with you in terms of a tool of feeling better. I also, when we were talking about getting back out in nature to feel a little bit better, and large bodies of water, which we can talk about a little bit later, but I specifically said, whether it's taking a bath or taking a shower, there's nothing toxic about it. And what I mean by that is I sure can think of a lot of things that make me feel better, but might not be good for me, right? There's toxicity to it, in terms of it's a buffering action that I'm trying to either repress or hide or fill a void. But in filling that void, it's a toxic thing, whether it's drinking, binge eating, binge watching.
It's interesting you say that, because lately I've recognized that I'm spending a lot of time on my phone, particularly on Instagram, with the reels, because I do find them funny, right? And so for me, laughter, I think I was seeing laughter as this time for me where I'm enjoying something, and I'm getting kind of a hit from the the endorphins and all the serotonin and everything that I'm watching. But I recognized that in some ways started to be tip too far into that place of where I was getting locked into this feeling of like, I have to be on this social media app in order to find humor. And then 2 hours later, I have gone down this, this rabbit hole. And that was happening again and again and again and again. And I think well, at least now recognize that in moderation, those videos are great. They do bring a lot of joy, and I get to share them with my siblings and my friends, and have these moments where I'm connecting with others. But, past the point of moderation, I was disassociating, and I was separating from my family, from the world, et cetera. Also was missing out on the other opportunities to engage in activities that fulfilled me in different ways or other ways. So absolutely spot on. You couldn't be like more kind of just like right next to me, as I've been thinking lately about the ways in which I do try to uplift myself, but then maybe some of those strategies, some of those resources, those things have actually gone too far. And then they haven't been in moderation.
Yeah. So it's helpful in being mindful of like, okay, yeah, these videos make me feel better. So I'm going to allow myself 10 minutes to watch and soak up whatever videos. Or everybody knows here, everybody ready for the drinking game? Ted Lasso. I'm going to bring up Ted Lasso again. I mean, I can binge watch and have binge watched Ted Lasso, and it is because watching that series, there's just something about it that uplifts me. But I also recognize with Ted Lasso, I recognize that it's something that makes me feel better, that feel good feeling as I watch it. But come the third show in a row, because you know how with streaming it just says next episode,
Next
and if I
episode.
can't, if
Right.
I don't have the remote control in my hand to switch it, it's very easy for me to be
Yeah.
like, okay, well, I guess I'll watch the next
Yeah.
episode. But how that actually no longer, I'm almost numb to the good feeling.
Mm-hmm. I think we all love those days when we just kind of hunker down and we have a binge day, right? Where we just like go from episode to episode. And I think why I'm appreciating this conversation so much is that the check-in and the reflection of what is this? How does it serve me? What is it bringing in my life right now? And then also, where am I at with it? So, is this the fourth time that I've had this kind of binge watching day in a row and I haven't showered and my breath smells terrible and I'm still in the same socks? Okay. And we've all had that time. Right. And that's okay. But I think for all of us, answering the question of when we check in, what is it doing? How is it serving us? Are there other things, other opportunities, other resources that that we have available to us that can help us in different ways? And you were so beautiful about this in the beginning of this conversation prior to us, hitting record. You said, have you had an opportunity to spend much time in nature? And there was no judgment in the answer. It wasn't like, well, you should or shouldn't, which, we've said that's where shame lies, in the shoulds. But I do like time in nature. I do. And I like being outside. I like the feeling of fresh air. I love going on walks and seeing things and being around and seeing, listening to the birds and saying, oh, what kind of bird is that? Or trees, and just being out and around. And that isn't something that I have been doing lately. And that little reminder that you gave me was like, oh, so in addition to the Instagram reel 10-minute, 20 minutes, I can also go outside in nature. Yep. I totally forgot about that. Right. Or the shower or the washing of the hands. So I for those of you that might be feeling like, if you are at all, that we're dogging those binge days, no, we all have them.
No, everything in moderation, including moderation. Sometimes you got to binge, but when all you're doing is binging, then that's where the mindfulness comes in. Because when all you're doing is binging, you actually lose the very reason, the very sensation that prompted you to binge in the first place. So take, for example, like I don't really drink alcohol, but I'm the first to admit that I have like such a sugar, such a sweet tooth. I can sugar binge like there's no tomorrow. What has helped me now, in feeling like, oh, you know what, I'd really like that whatever dessert and it'll make me feel better. I recognize, number one, will it really make me feel better? I'm actually going to feel crappier after it. Or if legitimately, hey, this is a piece of dark chocolate, there's nothing bad here. I notice that after, even whether it's something healthy like a piece of dark chocolate, or whether it's a monstrosity of a death by chocolate cake slice, in being mindful of one's sensations, the first and maybe even the second bite will make you feel better. If you are mindful of that sensation, you can really savor that bite. But the third and the fourth bite kind of starts tasting the same. And you almost have like satiation, not only of appetite, but satiation of the sense or of the taste of that chocolate or that French fry. Like the sixth French fry tastes the same as the seventh French fry. So is there really a point in having the whole thing?
Oh, yes.
Am I getting preachy now as a doctor in terms of health? Sorry.
No, not at all. I tell you, you are hitting right at me because I love me some French fries. There's rarely a fried potato that I will turn down. Let me tell you, that is some good sound advice for me right here. You're spot on. And as we're talking, I'm thinking of other things that I do to uplift myself, other things that I do because they make me happy. And I will share this one with you, don't mind. I love to sing. I love to get in my car and just sing the living out of whatever song is on my playlist, or whatever song, has like the highest note or is kind of, and what's odd is this, I think if if there was like somebody observing me in this moment, it would probably be really interesting to study to see what songs I pick for whatever
Mm-hmm.
mood I might be in at that point. But sometimes I will also put on like classical songs. I don't even know the language. I don't know the words or anything, but the melody is something that I want to
You're just
sing.
moved by it.
Yeah, because I think it also gets out some feelings, or it like gives space and breath, to literal breath, to, whatever I'm holding on to that I want to release, in the way that, we talked about the water, and the feeling of the water connects me to me. The actual song, the notes, the certain types of frequencies of the notes and how high they are and everything. There's something resonant and literally resonant in that helps me. And it
Mm-hmm.
kind of, it like runs down my head, like into my feet. And I've used that strategically at times when I just need it. You know what I mean?
Yes, because you are now using a different sense. So you're very mindful of your oral,
Mhm.
AURAL, meaning your
Yeah.
your hearing sense. Um, and that's where mindfulness comes in, and that's where being aware of one's senses comes in terms of uplifting and kind of pulling us out of, same old doldrums. What I also love in terms of the examples that you've given, like if you're not anywhere near a shower and you're not
Yeah.
or you don't
Yeah.
have time to take a shower, that you're washing your hands in a sink. Just the feeling of the water flowing through your hands
Mhm.
is something kind of cleansing and refreshing for you. In order to feel better, you don't have to wait for some big thing
Mhm.
to make you feel better. It can be small little steps. So another thing that we talked about pre-recording
Mhm.
was Zachary, you're going out to work out and go to the
Mhm.
gym, and we
Mhm.
talked about how we all know that statistically and scientifically, exercise and
Mhm.
movement makes one feel better. But sometimes, let's be honest, if you're not feeling it, it's really hard to
Mhm.
overcome that inertia. And especially if and when we have preconceived notions of what a workout entails,
Mhm.
meaning I have to go to the gym and I have to stay there for 20 minutes because I have to be there or I have to stay there for an hour because I'm on the gym for 20 minutes and I have to do X amount of sets. Well, sometimes that can be overwhelming. So that actually adds to the feeling of either depression or anxiety or the shoulda, coulda, woulda, shame that we put on ourselves. So we can uplift ourselves with the small steps and
Mhm.
celebrate the small steps. So, okay, don't go to the gym, but if you can put on your shoes and walk from, where you live
Mhm.
to the corner of your street, try that. And if that's all that you can do, great, because at least you did that,
Mhm.
and you can say that you did it. So there's an affirmation of something that you did do. And then, the majority of the time one ends up, staying longer, walking farther, exercising, more than the plan, because of having overcome that inertia.
Mhm.
So it's
Mhm.
starting small, where one can overcome, we're going to get into physics now, overcome the inertia and gain the momentum
Mhm.
towards something and uplift oneself that way.
I was definitely one of those people early on in my time of really committing towards a routine of working out, and by that I mean actually going to the gym. I was stuck in that I had to be there for at least 45 minutes to an hour, and I had an Apple Watch at the time, and I had to make sure that I hit this certain calorie goal, because if I didn't get more than 300 calorie mark by the time I left, then I didn't get a good workout in. And there was all of this wrapped up into it. And I got rid of the watch. That was a big thing for me.
Mm.
The first thing it is, I got rid of it because I recognized that I was tying this time that I really loved for me. It really
Mm-hmm.
was time for me so much to this like arbitrary goal, because I recognized it and I felt like just so shackled by it. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, nope, I want to get rid of this. This is not why I'm here. I've been blessed, and this is something later I would like to bring up if I can. Is I was blessed because others gave me that perspective. Others were like, what are you doing, really? I said, well, if it doesn't, kind of like what you said, it doesn't count if, and they're like, says who? I mean, it was like classic, like Dr. Ignacio. These people were like coming up with like, says who? They really broke down the idea of like the should or the this if this, then if not this, then not. Like no.
Yes. The all or nothing.
Yeah, just, and I've come to really appreciate now. When I say workout time, I don't necessarily mean like going to the gym. I just mean this allocation of time that where I devote to just my physical health.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to get my heart rate up in some way or another. If that's walking, if it's rock climbing, if it's weightlifting. And sometimes I will quote unquote get to the gym and just not be feeling it. And I'm like, okay, 15 minutes on the treadmill.
Yep.
I walk out the door. Beautiful. Mm-hmm. Like you
yep.
showed up for yourself today. And that's really what it is for me.
Yes, exactly. You know? For the drinking games of things and people that I always bring up Ted Lasso, I bring up Schitt's Creek, and then of course one of my all-time favorites is Wonder Woman. And you just made me remember the scene in the original Wonder Woman movie, original meaning of this time and age. Wonder Woman as Princess Diana meets Captain, I think his name is Steve Rogers. I'm embarrassed, I don't know that. I don't care about Steve Rogers. I care about Wonder Woman. But anyway, meet Steve Rogers for the first time because he was like injured and is on this mythical island with all of the Amazonian women. And she sees him and he's in a bath. Actually, he's in a bath. Yeah. And he's naked and she's never seen a man before. Mm-hmm. And so she's like just studying him up and down. And he thinks that she's staring at his les bijoux. He thinks that she's staring at his penis, but he's not, because she was like, what is that? Like, why do you have that? I don't have that. And so everybody's thinking she's talking about his penis, and she's actually referring to his watch. Oh. So he had a watch on and she's like, what is that? And he was like, oh, this is a watch. It's an instrument. It's given to me by my father. And it tells me the time of day, and therefore, given the time of day, it tells me what to do. And she looked at him very quizzically, like, how stupid is that? Like, what, you're letting this little thing on your watch tell you what to do? And that's like, I mean, this isn't the word she used, but basically like, that's the boss of you. Yeah. And so I couldn't help but think how, to your point, the watch telling you what to do and where to be, and almost becoming your boss, right? Shackled you like handcuffs and chains, and that can bring you down, as opposed to the watch saying, oh, hey, time to go work out, and the workout could be uplifting. Now it was this heavy should, have to do, you know, you're a loser if you don't, you know what I mean? Like, and I digress a lot. Forgive me, but it's amazing what we put on ourselves and how we put ourselves down, and the weight of even a watch can be heavy and bring us down, whereas we're trying to find things to uplift us.
Yeah. And the watch is a good metaphor, I think, for that internal boss that does talk to me at times, that says, well, you should be doing this. You shouldn't be doing that. You know, you need this right now. You need that right now. And then I start to listen to that voice as if it is a true voice, one, and then it becomes the only voice. And so there are days that I do need to sleep in.
Yes.
There are days that I do need to rest. There are days that I do need 10 minutes of laughter or 15 minutes of laughter, right? And so I think paying attention to that as just a voice is truly helpful. But you're absolutely right that watch as a metaphor could symbolize the internalized beliefs about what we should or shouldn't be doing, that also find ways to pull us down rather than uplift us. And I recognize recently that I have a lot of those, right? I have a lot of those internal narratives, those internal voices that are saying this should happen, this shouldn't happen. Maybe you can hear it in my voice, but why I'm smiling is because I also think if we truly allow it, we do have those other voices inside us that are saying, you might need this too, you know? And yes, time with my friend Elizabeth was like what I was feeling. You know what I mean? Maybe time in nature, maybe running your hands under the water, maybe going out and putting your feet in grass, or standing at a beach, or whatever it is. I think sometimes, and I'm just speaking out loud, I know that voice is there, but it's just so small, right? And it's barely a whisper because the other voice is so loud. And sometimes I know I just have to like push out those other ones and be like, what am I really needing right now? It was time with my friend. It was time with my friend. And then it became a podcast episode. So
The other thing that I actually want to point out is, like, in this amazing world of technology, artificial intelligence, we have so much simulation that we miss out on the real thing. And what I mean by that is some of the things that you mentioned, which are wonderful, like ironically, we have walking on a treadmill, we have indoor rock climbing. Take that walk on the treadmill, take that walk outside. And even if it's a shorter walk or not as, it's flat, as opposed to if you use inclines on your treadmill, whatever, there's so much that we have that is simulated now, but it's the real things, it's the real deals often that really fill our cup and really uplift us. And so in addition to rock climbing and going to the gym, getting out in nature really can truly make a difference. And there's a lot of, research that has shown that, both neurobiologically as well as psychologically, in terms of grounding. For example, you and I talked about that before we recorded this episode, which is just getting out, get your feet on grass, even if it's just for 5 minutes, just so that you are mindful and your feet are mindful, having the sensation of nature under you. Or as much as we talk about, showering or running, your hands in the sink, which is wonderful. And again, we celebrate the small things that help uplift us because they add up. Still, there is also something to be said about nature and sensing a rainfall as opposed to the shower. Or, I live here in Hawaii, like, go see the ocean, or, you in Chicago, see that vastness of Lake Michigan, because that is also another way to kind of reboot our operating system. The uplifting realization that whereas there's so much that we try to control in our lives, and we think that that's where our success comes from, is control, then when we feel like we're out of control, that either causes, sadness and depression or anxiety. Well, when we get out in nature, there is this recognition of how somehow nature keeps happening, the world keeps turning, the world keeps orbiting, around the sun. And there's so much seemingly imperfect things and uncontrolled things in nature, yet the world works and the universe works. And that recognition of letting go for those small moments of control, which might help reduce the sense of sadness or anxiety, because there is something grander, whether it's for those of us who have a belief in a higher power, or just the recognition, that scientifically the universe is still working. Letting go of that need or sense to have control, in and of itself, that letting go might be uplifting.
And I want to add on to that if I can, because as I was thinking through some of the examples that you said about so much being simulated, during the pandemic, many of us struggled because our only touch points with others was really via remote. And technology is a beautiful blessing in that, like, right now we are benefiting from technology because Dr. Ignacio's in Hawaii, I'm in Chicago, and we get to do this. There is nothing like time with Dr. Ignacio. There is truly in person. And it doesn't have to be organized. It doesn't have to be like have an agenda. We don't have to be doing anything other than just being in each other's presence. And I say that as an introvert. I recharge generally like alone or in a small group, but I need time with others. I need time with loved ones. That reminds me, yes, that the universe is vast and that there's beauty in nature, that, and I believe in a higher power, that God created my beautiful friend and my beautiful siblings, my beautiful family. And so I put this out there because time with others and true non-simulated, non-technology related, meaning come over, or can I come to you? Can we go walk? We don't even have to talk. We don't have to do anything, but just, can I be in your presence? Can be another way to uplift yourself and uplift somebody else. And I put that out there because this is where I struggle. And I say this very vulnerably and honestly, that in times when I am really in it, I shut people out, when in fact, I actually need people the most. You know what I mean? A very good friend of mine, I spoke about it in a previous episode. She was the one that kind of like hit me over the head with it. And actually, Dr. Ignacio, to your credit, you have done it quite a few times as well. And my sister and brother, like, God love them, you know, they all recognize my turtle moments. But I share all that because in addition to time with nature, water, music, being with others can be a tremendous opportunity to uplift oneself, and recognizing that it's okay to ask for help in that place. It's okay to say to your friend, hey, can we just like, can I just be around you? Can I just like feed off of your energy? Can I feed off of you right now? That's really what I need. And the opportunity for a loved one to give that to you is so powerful and so connecting. So I also put out there just time with others as another way to uplift.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like, again, back to simulation. Like, it's one thing to have like the Instagram reels and then sharing it to friends.
Yeah.
There's nothing like, and this is why, you know, there's many performers that love theater over movies, for example, just because that vibe and that energy, even among strangers, of sharing laughter or sharing tears, that human connection can be uplifting.
Can I add to that? So you just reminded me, I saw this musical in New York City called Once, and it was a movie and then it became a musical. Basically, it's a kind of a romance story about a guy and a girl that fall in love, but there are complications to how they can be together. But it's a beautiful musical. I have never in my life experienced watching a Broadway musical where the audience is having a collective response. You know, usually it's like you with the show, it's kind of like a one-to-one relationship. Whereas this time, like the audience, we all felt like we felt it together, right? One of the reasons why I know this to be true is because it's a very emotional show. And, you know, towards the end, I'm crying. And the woman next to me literally puts her hand on my hand. She's crying too.
Yeah.
I don't know who this person is, right? And we just connected in that moment. We were just together in person watching the show, this story with these performers. And we had a moment in each other's presence with this. So to your point, absolutely, even with strangers, we had it, you know?
What do you think like sporting events are, right?
God,
like here's all stadium full. I mean, you're Notre Dame alum. Like, you know, if there's any sense of camaraderie, collegiality, even family among strangers, it's going to a sporting event as a fan. But like just the enjoying the feel and the energy from the crowd, you know, with the cheers and even, you know, with the talking smack and yelling, like just the environment. That's what, you know, sports can do. Getting out there, being out there, that can be uplifting. And don't get me wrong, like scary as hell too. I get it. Like people think that I'm like so confident. Are you kidding? I'm very like confident and comfortable amongst my friends. I don't like big parties. I feel like super alone, like a wallflower. I get that. But still, very rarely do I put myself out there and not have some sort of uplifting from it. You know what I mean? Like I can feel awkward as hell. I might only make one acquaintance, but still that one new acquaintance kind of always makes it worth it.
Oh yeah. How many times have we come back from something and said like, oh, like I had a good time, or that was surprising, or I'm glad I went. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because I believe if you go into it saying this is going to be a terrible time, chances are you're going to be right. But if you go into it like, oh, you know, I get to be with whoever I'm with, or this is a new adventure or a sporting event or something, just going in with that kind of perspective, oh my gosh, just you open yourself up even more to the possibilities of how it will uplift you. I firmly believe that. So listeners, Dr. Ignacio hates this. So I put that out there right off the bat, but I have shared some of the things that I like to do to uplift myself. Do you have any quirky ones that you want to share? Maybe that, you know, tell us a
Okay, well,
little
so
bit about
nobody will
you.
be surprised. Yeah, so nobody will be surprised by the fact that I like when I'm feeling down, I will watch an
Yeah,
episode of Ted Lasso or an episode
true.
of Schitt's Creek. So that's of no surprise. I dancing will
Uh,
do it for me every time. And I mean, talk about exercise. I was actually thinking of dancing when I was talking about earlier how, you go in, for a workout or planning an exercise, and you go in planning like, okay, I'm only going to do it for X amount of minutes. The energy compounds. So like I almost feel like I'm indefatigable. You know what I mean? Like I go in, I'm feeling really tired, and then I play an upbeat song and I just let loose. And then that fuels me. Okay, one more song. Okay, and then one more song. I mean, talk about binge. Like, okay, binge dancing, is that a thing? So, and most important, I just have to say there's two things. What uplifts me, either being with or remembering. And remembering matters, guys. So when you really,
mhm,
listeners, when you're feeling down, go down memory lane. um and relive the laughter and
mhm.
and relive those moments where you were uplifted, and I bet you they'll uplift you again. So anyway, so what works for me is either being with my kids or remembering,
Mhm.
silly moments with my kids where I just laughed. And then ultimately, of course, I have to bring it back to my faith.
Mhm.
So what really uplifts me sometimes is, or actually I should say all the time, is taking the moment of recognizing that I'm feeling this way,
Mhm.
and then with that feeling saying, God, I'm feeling this way. Take this from me. And if it takes time to take this from me, just let me know that you are here with me. And I always, in taking that pause, I always feel better. And it's not because I'm asking necessarily for everything to be solved right then
Mhm.
and there, but just the recognition of the trust and faith that I can come through this, whatever it is that I'm feeling.
Mhm.
There's just always, if not rainbows and unicorns and feeling better, I definitely come to a place of centeredness and peace. And sometimes that's what we have to go for, right?
Mhm.
Like sometimes it's not like I'm feeling down, so let me find something uplifting. That's an important point
Mhm.
to point out in this episode, which is, of course, we would, if we're feeling, kind of depressed, of course we want to feel better and happier and refreshed and lighter, but sometimes we can't get to that yet. At least if we can get to a place of peace and even hope, then maybe the lightness and the laughter comes after.
Oh yeah.
But allow ourselves, allow the higher power, allow
Mhm.
God, um uh to get to that place of, okay, well, just get me. I want to get myself to a place of peace.
Mhm.
Then the lightness will come.
Oh yeah. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Thank you for letting me put you on the spot there. I was hoping you were going to bring up dance because as we were talking, I was thinking like, how often I have heard from friends or even to myself, I'm like, I just need a night out dancing. You just need that. I was like, I bet you Dr. Ignacio is going to say dancing, binge dancing. I
And
think you
by
just,
myself, by the
yeah,
way.
exactly.
I like, the funny thing is, to the points that we were making, like things are often better, when shared. Yeah, there's no question that when I'm with like my mama friends and dancing, there's nothing like it. But a close second, just to make myself feel better, is, yeah, I'll go in my garage, blast the music, and go to town.
Listeners, thank you for going with us on this journey. No, I just, given where I was coming into this episode and talking with my friend, I knew that little voice in me was saying, what you need to uplift yourself right now is time with your friend. And whether or not that became an episode was irrelevant because it was just a moment for us to connect and me to be with you as much as I could via technology. And then for this to spark a really interesting conversation about ways in which we can then look at ourselves, look inward and reflect and think about what uplifts us, and then how potentially what we think uplifts us could push a little too far. Right now, we're beyond moderation, and
And we're
and then
buffering and we're
Yeah.
like falsely filling a void as opposed to uplifting us.
But then you giving that really good delineation between simulated and real, and how truly there is no replacement for the real thing, right, is such a good reminder. And that doesn't diminish the opportunities that you have to run your hands underwater, or to do a little dance in your garage, or to take a shower, whatever it is. There's nothing like standing under a rainfall, or like putting your feet in the ocean, or dancing in some place with your friends and the music is going and you're feeling it. There's really nothing like the real thing.
And also permission of the recognition of when you're not feeling quite your best self, that sometimes it's okay that you can't be uplifted to the point of joy and laughter and frivolity. Then perhaps seek how you can feel and find peace, whether it's giving yourself self-compassion, lighting a candle, reading a book, but whatever can give you peace. A movement towards peace is that movement of being uplifted.
I am so curious if listeners, you feel so moved, because we know listening to Simply Enough is one of the ways that you choose to uplift yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. But I would be curious to know if you are willing to share any of the ways in which you uplift yourselves, and
Please.
how it would be so interesting to me to hear from all of you. And you can go to our website at simplyenough.me, and you can leave a comment. You can actually voice record if you want on our website. You can go to our YouTube channel, which is Simply Enough Podcast, and you can leave a comment with this video. Would love to see ways in which you find ways to uplift yourself, and then also ways in which you find ways to uplift others. Because as we talked in this moment, just being with all of you and with my friend was uplifting for me. And that happened because I reached out and asked my friend for it, and she was gracious enough to say yes. So it doesn't always have to be a solitary thing. It can be something that we do together. And remember, you are not just simply enough.
You are more than enough.
Just as you are.
Period.
Mwah.
Love you.
Love you.